Welcome to the permafrost tunnel. The soils up front in the tunnel are younger, and the soils in the back are much older, almost 30 to 40,000 years old. So the soils that we have up front here contain a number of late Pleistocene prehistoric bones here that are sticking out of the walls. So you can see there's some steppe bison bones here on the walls. There's also steppe bison bones over here on this wall. There's a nice steppe bison horn up here on this wall. So these are the species that were living and dying here in the permafrost zone here of interior Alaska during the late Pleistocene. Okay, here we have a number of really much easier to see bones here that are sticking out of the wall associated with small gravel deposits that show that this part of the tunnel was actually an old gully. We don't have any complete skeletons, but these animals died higher up in the hill, and then as their bones washed down and got stuck in this gully, they were frozen here as part of our permafrost. Here's a steppe bison horn. Here's a woolly mammoth leg bone, and actually this is actually a part of a woolly mammoth tusk. One really common feature of the permafrost here in interior Alaska is that it is very high in organic matter content. Here's an example of some late Pleistocene sod that one wet fall day it slid off the side of a little gully, fell on its face, and then it got covered over, only to be uncovered here. This is actually part of the ecosystem that supported those woolly mammoths and steppe bison here in interior Alaska during the end of the last ice age. Our permafrost here is very high organic matter content, and what that means is it's very similar to a lot of the permafrost, similar permafrost in Siberia. It has very high organic matter content that was contained and frozen in the permafrost. Where in the rest of the world, when things died and fell on the forest floor, the vegetation rotted and immediately got incorporated into the soil. Whereas here, it was too cold and dry to do that. And so instead of it rotting, it just got covered over by the ongoing silt, the glacial loess blowing in from the mountain ranges. And then it was frozen inside the permafrost. Ice wedges form when the ground is super cold, 50 or 60 below, and the ground contracts and cracks. Water gets into it, and then a little bit of water freezes. It's a point of weakness in the soil. Then over time, this continues to happen in the same spot, and it creates these features in the permafrost called ice wedges. You can see this ice wedge has it's kind of mocha brown color, has a lot of lines. Those are evidence of those cracks. And so these ice wedges are a very common feature here in our permafrost, in our fine silt permafrost here in interior Alaska. This ice wedge up here, incorporated inside the ice wedge are two sections of relatively common white ice. That is called thermokarst cave ice. Those are formed when a process that water gets down into the permafrost and it melts out cavities in the ice wedges, which then later all fills up and freezes all at once, which makes the white ice. But that's evidence of processes that have been occurring over the last 40,000 years that are currently occurring on the surface right now. Water gets down in and degrades the permafrost much faster than changes in the air temperature. Here we have examples of where that has occurred in the past, but then it has restabilized. Okay, as we come around this corner, you can start to see the ice wedges seem to get larger because the farther underground we go, the farther into this fine silt permafrost, the larger the ice wedges present themselves down here. Now these ice wedges are really a fantastic feature on this really fine silt permafrost, but they also are quite the problem for people building especially roads, but also structures. Because when the fine silt permafrost is frozen, as long as it stays frozen, it can support our roads relatively well. But if there's an ice wedge underneath the road, then keeping the ice wedge frozen is a much more difficult task. Melting ice wedges tend to create those real dips that we call frost heaves.